As we gather today, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of this committee and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. And please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Does anyone have any pecuniary or financial interest to declare? Good. Having seen none, motion for the minutes of the previous meeting.
Moved by Harold Levine, second by Maureen McMillan, motion to approve the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting held on June 25th, 2024, open session.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see so many people here tonight. I understand that everyone is frustrated and even angry. I feel we owe it to our taxpayers to determine what caused the increase this year and what we can do to mitigate things in the future. We can no longer just add an amount to the previous budget. We must increase the budget systematically. All budget projects must be completed in the budget year, or we end up taxing back-to-back years. For those wondering why we're doing this now and not before or during the 2024 budget planning, we did make cuts during the process. Our process started with us looking at our expenses exceeding revenue by $1,314,045. Staff and council worked to reduce that number. May the 1st, we decreased the difference by $196,633. May the 6th, we decreased our difference by $17,779. And May the 10th, we also made a decrease of $25,193 for a total of $239,000 and $239,605 in total that we knocked off, which reduced us to a total difference of $1,074,444. Numbers all flow together there, sorry. Our calculation to determine our tax increase is that we take our taxable income of 2023 and multiply it by the percentage we will be using, and then the difference we need to balance must be taken out of reserves. Our 2023 taxable income was $2,933,420. And just for interest's sake, 1% of that is equal to $29,334. So in 2024, with the 17% increase, which amounted to $498,681, we took $545,759 out of the reserve account, and also an additional $30,000 out of another reserve account, for a total of $1,074,440. If we would have went with a 5% increase, which basically is a norm, the 5% increase would have amounted to $146,671, and we would have taken out $897,769 out of the reserve fund, and also an additional $30,000 out of another reserve fund, which of course balances to $1,074,000. Our 2023 available reserves, as stated on our December 31st, 2023 audited financial statement, was $3,688,711. Our tax arrears are $1,394,475. Our water and sewer arrears are $297,799 for a total of $1,692,274, which is 38% of our reserves, which has increased by 8 points since 2020. The effect of this means that we only have $1,996,437 in real dollar reserves. The direction this is going would lead to a very high-risk situation. This could lead us to getting reduced amounts for grants or even the demise of our municipality. We had to make a hard stand and had the blessing of our auditor in doing all the above. At this point, I still feel comfortable that we can do this investigation internally, but if we cannot, we will have to utilize outside resources. We are not making changes here tonight. Those will be discussed at future meetings. This is a fact-finding mission in order for us to make recommendations for the 2025 budget. And previous meeting, we went through revenues, and now tonight, we're gonna go through the expenses. Okay, unfinished business, tax and water, sewage arrears.
Yeah, so I was just bringing it, back to the table under unfinished business. We now have some direction from council as to what to do, as far as the tax and water and sewage arrears. Council gonna consider possible tax sales, possibly rolling the water sewage arrears onto the tax bills, shutting off water.
We currently have bylaws in place, right? And I believe the previous councils, many councils before, set up bylaws. They're in place. I think the question is, should we enact on those bylaws in regards to water and sewage and tax rates?
Well, I think the question, definitely with taxes, but I think the question with water is currently it states that water will get shut off. And I think that's a gray area of whether or not we want to do that, because I've been reading a lot about cutting off people's water and sewage. So the UN does declare water and sanitation a basic human right. But the way a lot of other municipalities deal with this is they take the arrears and they put it on the property tax bill. So and then your taxes, the property tax goes through the same process. You know, your house will eventually be put up for a tax sale. But the thing is, the thing you have to remember with tax sales is every step along the way, people have an opportunity to come in and fix that. Every step. There's 5 letters, I think 5 letters that get sent out. And then your house goes up, it goes into the process of being put up for sale. There are still lots of opportunity to come in and fix or come up with a solution, you know, to get yourself out of the pickle you're in. So I think like enough is enough. I think this should be like an annual thing. You know, you guys need direction to do it, but I think we should just be doing this every year. The process just starts. You know, there has to be a reward for paying your taxes. Yeah, and right now there's like no consequence to not paying your taxes, and it really stinks, and that's on the back of everybody who does pay their taxes.
Okay, Carl.
Okay, we put this on their tax arrears, but if they aren't paying their taxes and they aren't paying their water and sewage, we're not getting anywhere.
I know, but there are some people who are just choosing not to because there are no consequences in this township.
I know.
There are no consequences for people to not pay their taxes.
My personal view is I think we send these people in their arrears of water and sewage, give them 32 days in a registered letter to come in and comply and try to pay down their bill. Like, we just can't go on going in hole after hole after hole, you know. I pay mine and, well, you know, that's mine.
Yeah.
I agree, but I think what Maureen's saying is that it's challenging to cut off people's water as a human rights. You know,
It's a very gray area.
As
Very
a,
gray.
I guarantee you, if you live in Ottawa or Canada, you don't pay your water, you think they're not going to hesitate to shut your water off?
correct. What
Correct.
Maureen's suggesting though is putting it on their tax bill, and if they're still not paying, then put it up for tax sale.
Follow the process.
It's the
Follow
same
the
people,
process.
like according to this, it's like, you know, according to what we just got, it looks like the same people aren't paying their taxes and they're not paying their water.
Yeah.
Is that our bylaw, is that what it reads, or will we have to change that bylaw? No, we are,
The bylaw is a good bylaw.
it's a policy, but yes. Yeah.
Policy,
Policy.
right.
Oh, can I speak again? I want to clarify something. It was posted in the Eganville Leader last week, a letter to the editor, that council got a 3% raise last year. We all declined anything, by the way.
Okay, I'm not sure what that has to do with water and sewer.
No, I'm just saying, before I forget, we never took a raise, by the way,
Yes.
everyone.
So back to that, whoever asked that question, Brian it was, I think. There is a policy and procedure in place for the tax arrears and the water and sewage, right?
Correct.
Right.
But the water and sewage, it's to cut it up, is it to cut the service or to?
Council can decide to cut the service, or council can decide to move it after the 12 months, move it onto their tax roll.
Okay.
But,
So, go ahead.
no, it's not gonna help us putting it on the tax roll, but they're paying the water.
Well,
and
no,
sewage.
then your tax process kicks into place.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do the first phase, or like you're doing both phases at the same time, there are two different timings, right? The tax is longer period, and then the water and sewage is a shorter period, correct?
Correct. But
So-
if they're not already paying their taxes, their arrears, you can move forward with the tax sale, which then includes the water and sewage
Right.
without having to move it.
Exactly.
So there's 3 different scenarios.
Okay. Carol? You're okay? Okay?
Well, you know how I feel. I told you how I felt last meeting, and I haven't changed my mind. So.
But we're not, I just want to reiterate something. We're not kicking people out of their house.
We are.
No, people have every opportunity. If you're
If they haven't paid their taxes in
people
15
have,
years,
but
they're
it's not
not
all
going
people,
to start
it's not
paying
all
their
poor
taxes
people who
now.
aren't paying their
Hang on.
taxes.
You still got the floor.
Yeah. If they haven't paid their taxes in 15 years, they're not going to start paying their taxes now. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I just think there's every opportunity. You're willing to work with anybody who can come in and make an effort to pay something. Yeah, we have no policy in place. There's no incentive for anyone to come in. When they get the letter, they're probably ripping it up and throwing it out the door. There's no incentive for people to actually come in and make an effort. If you've been going for 15 years and not making any effort, you know, this
you're
might
not
actually
gonna
get
make
you
an
off your
effort
butt.
now. No, it's not. It
Well, we
won't.
don't know until we try, and we can't keep
Yeah,
doing
I don't
mean,
mind trying, but
yeah, we
I'm telling
can't-
you,
we-
if it
we
gets
can't
down
keep
to the
doing
point
this.
where we have to decide to kick somebody out
But that-
of their house, I will not support it.
But we will cross that bridge when it happens. This may be enough to support what we want to accomplish.
This will get the people to pay their water and sewer bills, but there's only one of them, right? Everybody else isn't
Between
paying
Tam and Shirley,
anything.
would you be able to, and I don't think well, maybe I did bring the exact policy and procedure of what the step bar is for tax and arrears? Do you know? I don't know if I brought that with me.
I think you gave it to us. Yeah, I just saw it the other day.
A
Yeah.
couple of times.
I know,
Yeah.
I've been looking at it since our last meeting, and I don't think I brought it with me. But that policy is very clear and very, very, like, right to the point. And whichever council brought that forward, they could envision what was gonna happen, and they gave it step by step, and they weren't, just to clarify, they weren't forcing people, they gave them every opportunity to come in and make some arrangement. So, I wish I could find that sheet. Sorry.
But the problem is they don't come in to make an arrangement. And it just keeps going on and on and
But
on.
with that
and
policy
on.
and procedure, it does force them to.
You know what? We bid on a tax sale years ago. My husband and I bid on a tax sale, and the people ended up paying off their taxes. We didn't get it. Because of that, it got pulled. People do pay their taxes. Tax sales are a good incentive for people. If your house is gonna be lost,
Right.
you will scramble to find the money.
True, that's what
Somehow.
I'm saying, yes.
Yes.
I agree
So,
with
but
you.
if we don't do it, there is no incentive for
No.
people who haven't been paying their taxes for many, many years to do anything. We gotta do something. And it's not fair. It's not fair to everybody who's paying.
Yeah, because I just looked at our package here, the 300 and some thousand or whatever it was you paid out last month, you know.
Does anyone else have any comments?
No, I agree with Maureen, it's, we have to, get something going to make them think that they might go and lose their houses, maybe they will start coming in, because we keep going the whole, we won't have any money whatsoever.
Tanner, what do you need from us to move forward?
Hey, Sharon,
Oh, sorry.
what do you need from us? What was your question?
You heard back to Tim because I'm.
We need direction from council as to whether or not you wanna move forward with the tax sale proceedings, and if you do you wanna do, all of, the arrears? Do you wanna do the vacant land? Do you wanna do it in stages? And when it comes to the water, we need direction as to whether or not you want us to send letters to cut the water off, or if you want to, move forward with either placing it on the tax roll or having it part of the tax sale proceedings, just those kinds of options. We just need direction as to what council wants staff to move forward with.
I think we should start with the vacant land, personally, right? I don't know.
I don't know if we wanna pick and choose right now. I
Well-
think we're in this together right now, and we're coming on the heels of a huge, we have to show that we mean business right now. And we have to.
I think it has to be everything. There are a lot of houses that are kind of falling apart right now, people haven't been paying their taxes. I think it has to be everything.
I think,
Yeah.
It's like, how much longer are we gonna wait then before we do everything
Yeah,
else? Like,
we keep waiting, we're gonna be broke.
yeah,
we
exactly.
can't prolong this anymore. Like it's.
So I'm going to put it on the floor.
Well,
I-
hang on a second before you do that. I'm not sure if we can actually put this on the floor tonight at this meeting. I think it has to come before council tomorrow night.
No, but it's giving her direction.
No, I know, but
It's giving me direction. The
Direction.
policy is already set. The water and
Okay, I just-
sewer collection bylaw is already set. It's just, what does council want us to do
okay, I just
moving
wanted to
forward?
make that
Yes,
clarification
yes,
that
yes.
what we're doing tonight, so it's a directional situation.
Because those policies and procedures are already in place.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one other question before we put this to a vote. What about where we are today, like people that are in arrears right now? Is it effective today, tomorrow, or like those people that are in arrears now? Or does the clock start today, or has the clock started in the process? Do you know what I mean?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's already
Was I
started,
rambling?
they're getting interest
I was
every
ram-
month on it.
I was rambling there for a minute, sorry. So is it backdated, or does it start tomorrow?
Well, it has to be backdated, because if
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
going
it's-
after people, you can't start today.
I think it's if they're 2 years in arrears, then
Yeah.
as long as you have the go-ahead, you can start the process to move it forward to, what does the organization move it forward to?
Real tax.
Real tax, thank you.
Real tax.
Yes,
But-
so it's just you need the direction to be able to do that.
The council wants us to move forward with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a vote, and I think
Well,
we should do.
can we talk about the water part though, what our suggestion for the water is? That's why I wanted
Sure.
to,
So that'll be a total clarification of.
so a total
So
clarification.
we've done now, as far as back taxes, everyone's okay? We're gonna vote on this, but is there any other questions about going through to real tax? Okay, now you can bring up the water and sewer.
So I wanted to suggest that we also add the water and sewage arrears to their tax bills as opposed to cutting off the water and sewage, which I think is a bit of a gray area, and I'm not sure as a small municipality ready to go there. But that would be the consequence. It gets added to their tax bill, their property goes through the tax sale process, and it's like, yeah, out of most of those people are in arrears on both, so their property's probably gonna be going through that process regardless.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, do we have to change the policy to include that, or is we're okay?
No.
Is that a directional thing also?
Yes, I just want to know whether or not council wants to cut the water off, or if they want to add it to the tax roll.
Okay, so that's an additional question we have to ask for a vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we not, like, send them a registered letter or something?
We have, Carl,
Oh,
we've
have
done,
you?
yes, we've
Give
followed our
them 30
policy,
okay,
we've
okay.
already been doing that.
Okay, good.
That's
So-
common practice.
There's 26 that are not paying, and only one of those 26 is paying taxes. So the 25 of them, it doesn't matter. It's, they don't pay their taxes, they don't pay their water and sewer.
That's true.
So you can put it on their tax bill, it's not gonna change anything.
No, but it will go to real tax then.
Yeah.
It'll go to real tax whether.
No, the water and sewage.
Yes,
will
even
be
if,
taxed.
like, if their property is up for tax arrear, like if their property is in tax arrears and they do have water and sewage arrears, then you don't have to move the water and sewage, it gets calculated in with real tax because that money is owed to the township.
Right. Now, will that affect Will in doing the accounting of anything like that? No? Okay. Okay. In case somebody gets something, remind me what I should be asking for a vote on. Let's do the first one, the tax, the real tax. All those in favor of proceeding with that? Two. Okay. Second one, water and sewage, and changing, altering the direction to put it into, the tax bill. Right?
It's already a policy.
We don't have,
Just need to
we don't have to do anything unless we're shutting the water off. That's the only thing we have to
Okay.
vote on, because it automatically goes in.
Is that automatically happening?
If it goes to real tax, it automatically goes
Gets
over.
calculated, yes,
Okay.
yes. It's only the ones that are paying their taxes and aren't paying their water and sewage, we would flip over to their tax roll. Because
Okay.
their property wouldn't be going up for tax sale.
Okay, and how, I guess we have no idea how
Okay,
many
so-
people that.
Yes, one.
Yeah, the only one that would be
There's
rolling on.
one
Okay.
person pays their taxes
Okay.
but won't pay their water.
Okay.
I do have a question though, if this direction, will that mean going forward, every time there are 12 months, we can,
Like, we have to follow the policy now. I think that's what we're saying. So I think maybe that's the vote that we need to have, is should we follow a policy right to the T?
But we can't vote, we have to, we have no choice.
Yeah.
We have been following the policy. Policy gives council the direction to go, either put it on the tax sale or put it on your tax bill or shut off their services. We don't have to talk about following the policy or not. We're following the policy. We have to talk about for people who are paying their taxes and not paying their water bill, do we want that put onto their water?
So, that's the question.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Vote on it.
Okay. Good report. Which one of this,
so this is just the report that, I provided to council, because there was some questions in the last meeting. So Mayor Nagle had asked how many residents are in water and sewage arrears and not in tax arrears. There's only one resident currently paying their taxes and not their water and sewage. The remaining 26 are in both tax and water and sewage arrears. Councilor Brown asked, if a property sells through a tax sale and there are still people residing there who refuse to leave, who is responsible for evicting them from the property? So, I spoke to Real Tax about this, and due to it not being a normal sales transaction, the responsibility is on the new owner to deal with anyone that would be left on the property.
So help so.
Councillor Smith asked, does the council have the authority to lower the minimum tender amount? The minimum tender amount can only be lowered after a tax sale is completed and deemed unsuccessful, meaning no tenders on the property. Council then has the opportunity to put the property up for sale a second time, and at this time, the minimum tender can be lowered. At this time, the property owner can also come in and pay that lower price. He also asked if council chose not to proceed with the tax sale once the registration stage was over, they could, but it's gonna be costly to the township because those costs are recovered when the property sells.
And does anyone have any questions on those questions and answers? So my feeling from the last meeting was that there was no interest in pursuing any of these items: storage containers, sale of lands, vacant home tax, short-term rentals, or sea containers. Is that okay?
Well,
At this
those are what
time.
you had brought up.
Yeah.
What was your opinion on all of them?
All of those?
Yeah.
We could explore it, some and all, if we wanted to, yeah. But there was not a good feeling going forward. There is one that I think, what I would like staff, if they could, to check out, and that is the licensing program for Airbnbs. And strictly just a licensing fee, with us not having any responsibility as far as sending the building inspector, that type of thing. If someone wants to open up an Airbnb, they have to approach us, and they need a license to open it.
Right.
Now, I don't know if we can do that or not. I'm asking.
Well, I understand what you're saying there, but if we have a licensing that people have to buy, we're going to have to police it, because people aren't just go out of the goodness of their heart come in and say, we have an Airbnb. There might be a few, but I think it's gonna cost us more money to do it than it is to not do it.
Take for example, and I'll use the chip truck as an example. They have to pay a $400 licensing fee, or I think it's called transient fee, similar to that. That's.
And I get that, and
You know what I'm trying to get at?
I get that.
Like
But-
these people are a business.
When they put a chip truck out there, you know it's there. These people with Airbnbs, unless somebody's policing it,
Maybe they would though if there was some incentive, like if we then,
Like
had
what?
their Airbnbs on, linked to our site or something, like go to these places, they're licensed by the township. There are ways that you could like incentivize people to actually do it.
I'm concerned about, once we put our license, once we license a place, we're putting our stamp of approval on it.
Yeah.
And we would
But
have,
that's what I'm trying to say.
I don't think you can just suppose your way out of responsibility for liability for everything that happens.
That's why I don't know if there's any other townships or municipalities that have done this, but, and I'm not sure.
well, I forget which township, it was just in the paper recently that it was gonna cost them too much money and they weren't going to proceed with the licensing, and I can't remember which one.
I
I'm
think
pretty sure it was in Eggenville Leader.
I think if I remember correctly, it was, they had to do the buildings, the sewage, the building inspector had to come and do the sewage, and everything. Everything had to be done. All I'm trying to do is break away from that and just have a license. And I understand what Bill's saying too, is that we technically are putting ourselves at liability, but I don't know if there's other municipalities that have actually done this.
I don't know if you could, without like
I don't
someone
know if
checking
you,
them out.
I don't know if you can, but I'd sure like to know if we can. Because it could be a
That's
source
a
of.
Tyler question, I would assume.
Sorry?
That would be a Tyler question, I would assume.
Well, I don't know if he would have access to all the municipalities if there is a licensing program.
No, but he would know what his responsibilities are as a chief building inspector
And bylaw officer.
and bylaw officer to what he would have to do if there was a license application put in.
But I would like to not have him involved at all.
Who's gonna do the licensing? As Bill said, we're probably gonna have to inspect the property.
No, we don't want to do anything. I'm trying to get it.
But I-
Well, how are you gonna
I
get away
don't
from
think
that? You can't get away from that. If we're selling a license, you put a chip truck, the health department goes in and inspects it, right? Well, we give me a license for bed and breakfast or whatever, and if I got a dump sitting there and they go in and it's full of mice and crap. How do we enforce it?
How
Right?
many B&Bs, Airbnbs are in our municipality?
I think less than 80, but more than 50.
Is that just in Killaloo, you mean, or?
Our
I
town,
think I
our
could maybe more
municipality.
than 80 right on Round Lake alone.
Really?
We have, so Tyler and I sat in on a seminar with, I forget what the agency was, and they did just a brief search. And the ones that they could find on Airbnb and on all the websites out there, we had 70, and that was last year, just prior, it was May, I think it was. But that's only the ones that actually go on those sites and register.
So those are the ones that are advertising.
Mhm.
But I'm saying if you're gonna
Other ones.
license them,
Like,
so you're gonna have a license, he's not, that one's gonna have a license, how are you gonna do it?
how you gonna
Somebody
police
has
that?
to have a list of all these, not just a couple of them.
Do you not think though that they might police themselves? Like if the neighbor says, "You've got an RV."
No, but that's our policing job then. So then they come and make a complaint. Well, then there's Tyler going, right? I get it. I see where you're going, but we've discussed this on multiple occasions. And the consensus is it's going to cost more than it's worth. But
And our CAO, who's our person who answers questions, has told us that we can't get out of the liability. That's
Not when it
correct.
comes to, not if you're going to license them.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
Okay. We'll keep trying. We'll find someone. Now, the next one under new business was discussion of Tyler's letter. We'll skip that one. We'll discuss that tomorrow night. Just before Tammy gets going, I just want to go over a couple of ones that, a couple of the accounts that we won't spend a lot of time on. It's just straightforward accounting. So take for example, policing. We have no control over that. That's the way it is. The library, same thing. That's what it is. So there's no bargaining about that. The one, and again, this is just for discussion at this point, in regards to council composition. And that is, right now, we have 1,678 households in our municipality. We have one councillor per 280 households, which is sort of crazy. Roughly, it would be, if there was a reduction in council, I'm not sure of the process. Tammy, you'd have to get back to us. If there was a flavor on this group, that we would want to go ahead and look at this.
I know there's a timeline before an election, because we've been through this multiple times too.
What was it?
And I can't remember what the
Is it a
timeline
year?
is, but
And I believe, if
it
I'm not,
has to be done long before the election.
if I'm not mistaken, it has to be a public meeting also.
Mm-hmm.
So, if, and again, I want everyone to think about this, it would be roughly in the range of $20,000 per council. If we were to go to drop the council composition to 4 councillors and a mayor, or whatever, we would need some background as far as Tammy looking up what has to happen and for further discussion.
So just from our previous talks about doing that, and honestly, I've always thought we do have too many counselors, but the only thing that we figured out before is if you do cut counselors, that's just going to put more work on the existing counselors. And we figured it out that last time, at the end of the day, it wasn't really going to save a whole lot of money.
So, what, you're gonna cut 2 from 6 down to 4?
Yeah.
So you're gonna save $40,000.
Right.
So now the other 4 are gonna have twice as many meetings, a few more meetings, because some of these councillors have committee meetings that somebody has to take them on. We did an extensive look at it, how many years, 4 years ago? The savings was, very minimal.
And the only other thing that we did discuss that time, if you do go down to 4 councillors, you gotta get rid of the ward system then. Because there's only 3 wards.
Well, and again, Tammy or Charlene could give us potential scenarios. One that I thought of was 1 councillor per ward, keep the ward system intact, and have a councillor at large.
Yeah, I think,
And that's based on votes.
yeah, I think if we get rid of it, we have to get rid of it. The ward system is, I'm not a big fan of the ward system. I mean, really,
I'm
when
not
I
either.
work as a counselor, I'm working for the good of the entire township. As Carl's not running in, you know, you're running in my ward, like, we should all be working for the good of our entire township. So when I do things, I think with the lens of Round Lake, I think of Willow, I think of Cooloo, I think of everywhere, because this is our whole municipality.
I think everyone's got the same
Yeah.
thought in their head.
So I did write to AMO, just because I wanted to see like how many communities that have a population of under 2,600 have 7 councillors, and it's a handful. Like, we're kind of like a dinosaur in that respect for a township our size, and you know, $40,000 a year doesn't sound like a lot, but in 4 years you've now paved the Round Lake rink. You know, I mean, it is significant if you look at it over 4 years.
You
I
won't be
think
saving 40,
That's
that's what
right.
I'm saying. You gotta, somebody has to pick up the slack.
Yeah, but there are different ways of doing things. Madawaska Valley does all their meetings at once. You know, and sometimes, honestly, I feel at a
And
disadvantage.
they pay themselves each $20,000 whether they go to the meetings or not a year. So
They have a
you
different
can't
way,
compare.
they have a different way of paying, but they have a different way of doing meetings as well. They sit
If we
there and
don't
do all their
attend
meetings
meetings,
at
we don't
once.
get paid.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, Harold, do you have any comment? Bill?
I'm completely for it. We have too many councillors, in my opinion, and I respect what you say, Brian. But the work truly is not that onerous for the amount of money that we're already getting paid, and maybe there's a couple more meetings. I wouldn't, to tell you the truth, with the schedule we had over the past year, I couldn't imagine how we could have more meetings, but, and we were all at them anyway, so I don't know. I think to what, I go back and forth on the ward system. I mean, I don't think that we need a ward system necessarily. We have 2 councillors who don't live in the wards that we're representing right now, I believe. I think, as Maureen said, I represent everyone. I'm thinking about everyone in the community, in all of our 3 communities and surrounding area. Yeah. But I don't know that we need a ward system. I think we could have, you know, like Dave said, or just like Maureen said, and it's the top 4 people that get elected.
We had talked last time as well of going, if the ward system stayed, go with 1 councillor per ward, then have a mayor and either a deputy mayor or a reeve.
Yeah. You need 4 people.
You need
You
5.
have to have 4 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have an odd number or it's gonna be tie votes.
Yeah, but I think we rely on
You gotta have
the,
5 people.
on the intelligence of our people to decide who they want representing them as a whole. I think it's
And I think
it's
that
fine.
ties,
Yeah.
sorry, but I think that ties in with the public meeting. To get the feeling, because the public has to give us input. We need their input.
Before we discuss this any further, we have to find out the timelines because we
Tammy's already said, I spoke with her outside of this meeting, and she said that there's plenty of time to do it, that the decision has to be made 1 year prior. So there needs to be a public meeting before that, or maybe 2 public meetings.
I think 2. I'd have to double check with that.
Yeah. So, and we have more than 2 years before the next election.
But I think if council wants to move forward with that, we need to get on it. Just to fit in the public meetings and to have all the public consultation and so everybody's informed and everybody's able to comment.
I think we have 27 months from today till the next election, not that I'm counting.
Who's counting? But
I
I
didn't count
think,
the math in my head.
so I'm getting the sense that there's a good feeling here that we should pursue this more.
I'm good with it, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm good, because I'm not gonna be here.
So we can give direction to Tammy to take the next step and give us feedback as far as what the steps are. So I think
Is that good, Dan?
I think we're looking at two things, the composition plus the word system. Are we not looking at two things? Is that what I'm getting?
Well, we have to, we have no choice. If you're going with 4 councillors, I don't think you can have 1 councillor at large. I think if you're going to 4 councillors, you have to get rid of the ward system.
Yes.
I don't like the ward system anyways.
Yeah.
I never have.
Like this would be a very dramatic week if we knock off the word system.
It
Is
won't be
that-
dramatic, I won't cry.
It's been the fight of this municipality. So Tammy, during your research, could you look and see if, what municipalities have gone to 4, take for example 4, and if they went from a ward system to 4 at large? I don't know if the 2 scenarios, if they blend.
I think Madawaska Valley's at large,
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh yeah, they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
To,
North Algona's at large.
yeah.
Still a ward system in Bonnechere Valley.
They're
It's still a ward system
Okay.
in Bonnechere Valley, but I know North Algona and Madawaska Valley. I believe Laurentian Valley is at large. City of Pembroke's at large.
To quote Councillor Brown, I don't care what they do down the road, we have to do something that works for us here in Cage.
okay, do we need to bring anything towards of this tomorrow night, or are we okay just the way we're going? Okay. The show is yours now.
So, in regards to Dave's email that he had sent with regards to going over the expenditures, and I just wanted to clarify with something. So I don't have a problem going through council's expenditures or the administration expenditures or anything that sort of relates to administration. However, I am not, I don't feel comfortable going over the fire department, building department, roads department, animal control, health and safety. Those are things that I don't do. So basically the procedure when we start the budget process is I give department heads a copy of their budget, and it's blank, and they go through it and they put in their own details as to what they're thinking that's supposed to go into their budget line. I don't have any say with what goes into their budget line. That's where council steps in, and that's where council decides whether or not they're going to approve that budget line when we do the full day finance meeting. So really, I mean, we have gone through this line by line. I'm not sure if council has any questions pertaining to their revenues or the admin revenues. But I can tell you, we talk about the deficit that the township is in. Well, we've discussed the many contributions that's where it comes from, right? So we've had these discussions prior to today. So I just wanted to remind council that some of those contributions are inflation, so inflation in general, increase in policing costs, increase in cost to provide services, staffing changes within departments. We lost a mechanic. That was a huge issue. MPAC has not completed their reassessment since 2016, so the township is using the 2016 assessment values to compensate for 2024 inflation costs. So that's huge. That's huge when it comes to revenues for between the revenues and the expenditures, but it's not a surprise. We've been talking about it since we started the budget process. OCIF and gas tax funding for infrastructure has remained relatively the same. However, road project costs have increased because of the increase in costs. So we're relying on reserves and increase in tax rates to offset those tax. It's again something that we don't have control over. We get OCIF and gas tax from the government. We also have to remember we have a small tax base. So our tax base is being assessed at the 2016 assessment. It's not bringing the revenue that it should. So those are, they're contributing factors that hit the deficit in our provisional budget, and I don't know where else we're going to find savings of over $1 million, especially in 2024 when this budget has already been passed. I can see us maybe looking forward into 2025 to see if there's anything, and I'm hoping MPAC will be able to come in and say, okay, we're going to assess higher than 2016, just so that it helps with assessment values. But I mean, I don't see anything coming anytime soon. I know they keep talking about it, but I haven't seen anything. So I really don't know what council wants from me in terms of going through line by line. So direction from council as to what do you want to do with that?
Dave, can I make a comment?
Sure.
So I've been thinking a lot about this, and some people know I have a day job outside of here, and I think we talk here about having a governance model. We've been a big proponent of the governance model. That means that the board or the elected officials make the decisions about direction. They make the difficult decisions, but it's staff that we hire, expert staff, to do the hard work. So we have expert staff, but sitting around the table, you might know, I'm a chef and she's a photographer. He retired from retail. You're a mailman. We have two truck drivers and a butcher. We're not the people who can go through and look at every line in the budget and tell Dean where he has to cut his money, or tell Tammy where she has to cut her money. Our job, if we want to cut money out of the budget, and that's really what we're talking about, is cutting money out of the budget, then we need to come up with a target for Tammy, a target for Dean, a target for all of the department heads, in my opinion, and say, find 5% savings, or 6%, find 6% savings, So let's just say 5% savings, that's $340,000 or something like that. We could do that. We could tell that to them. They'd come back to us and give us 2 or 3 different scenarios. Well, if we have to cut this much, this is what's going to happen. Or this. These are the 2 options, or these are the 3 options. That's where we make the difficult decisions. It's wasting taxpayer dollars, and it's wasting time for us to sit here and go through that budget line by line. We did it. We've done it. We probably did it 3 times at least during the last budget process, and we're going to do it again. And right now, we're trying to figure out what it's going to cost next year. We don't know what our projects are next year. We don't know what our costs are going to be. We don't know. There's so many unknowns at this point of the year. We're just getting started in the year. So I think it would be much better for us to think about giving a target for cutting expenses to staff, and then we can make decisions about what we want to go ahead with and what we don't want to go ahead with. And I think Mr. Fisher is going to say Bill made a speech, Councillor Stitt made a speech again, but it's just off the cuff.
Anybody else have any comments? Brian?
I agree with Bill. How can we make the decisions on what's to be cut from the roads department or the fire department? We can't say, well, we're going to go out and fight fire with no equipment. So I think we have to let them make those decisions, and then we have to finalize it.
Carl?
I totally agree with Bill. We can't forecast next year at this time of the year. Like, we don't have a clue what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm good with Bill. Like, Tommy's asking council's direction here, but it's not council. The mayor's been calling these meetings, and so,
Well, the reason is because we were $1 million over. Our
And I
expenses
get that,
exceeded
but-
our revenue.
I get that, but like Bill said, we've been through this line by line, probably 3 times now, and like with the fire department, you can't put cuts in budget because there could be all kinds of fires next year, right? Same with snow plowing. You don't know if there's going to be snow or if there's not. This winter we were very fortunate. We did well in the budget, but next year we could get 6 inches of snow every day. So,
All right.
I agree with Phil 100%. I think we made some really important decisions tonight, like we're moving forward on a few things, which makes me really happy. So this meeting was good for working on some of those things. I think the other thing that I'm a little fearful of is our infrastructure repair. We have a lot of things that need some really expensive big repairs we've got to start thinking really seriously about. So I'm not sure how much the public is aware of that, but there are some big things in this township that need big repairs. And we're really stuck in a position of not being able to move forward and fixing some of those things, at least not in this past budget, but they have to be fixed. So that's going to be coming up.
Harold.
I think we definitely, we can't decide what's, or know what's gonna happen through the years, we go over next year, the end of the one should be, that's a scenario, we have to do that, we have to do some cuts, but we can't do the cuts, we don't know what's going on. Then we can decide on it once everything comes back.
So I think the premise that I wanted to go through, account by account, and we use the phrase line by line. I'll just give you a couple examples. Road repairs. So in road repairs, the actual in 2023 was 196,000. The budget was 232,000. Our 2024 budget is going to be 301,000. Okay, so the difference is 104,000. So those are things that we got to ask questions about. That's just on the repairs. So our repair, to follow up what you're saying, Marie, we have some major expenditures coming ahead. Where are we going to get the money from? Take, for example, the construction, the roads. We use our grant money, OCIF and gas tax, and we took money out of the reserves to make an amount of 341,000. We only spent 208,000 of that. So there's a difference of 133,000. So you look at that and you say, okay, that's not part of the 17% increase because the two offset each other. You get money from grants and then you get money from your expense. What does get included is when we took $18,373 out of the working funds, that gets part of the 17%. So that's almost 1 percentage point by us taking that 18,000 out of the working funds. So like those are the kind of things. And I'll just a couple more that I just wrote down. The water treatment plant. Our revenue in the budget is $281,000. Our expense is $442,000, which is a difference of $161,865. So just keep that number in mind for a minute. Our sewer treatment was revenue of $154,581. Our expense was $220,666, which is a difference of $66,000. Add the two up, that's $227,000. Now, the special area rate covers that, okay? But when you go through and pull all the other items that are in the special area rate, maybe it doesn't, because we haven't done it in 5 or 6 years, what that rate is. Maybe there's a difference there that we should be looking at. think one area we have to look at is our student program. It's costing us more and more money. Yes, this year we did, I think, 7 students, 10.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Like, that's costing us a lot of money, even though we want to help the students as much as we can, but that's costing us money. Insurance. Right now, just on a quick ad that I went through, was $142,000 for insurance, for vehicles, buildings, etc. I think something like that, we need other quotes from other insurance companies, because we can't just settle and say, that's all we're gonna get. Like, some municipalities are going 5-8% increase. We did 15%, right? I think. So, like, that's an area. So that's where I was coming from, as far as going line by line. And those are just things that I went through quickly. And I think there's other things that we need to prove. Where did that 17% come from? That's,
I know exactly.
They told us where it came from.
And again, all of this stuff, council had plenty of opportunities to ask those questions at the time. Now, this is after the fact. This budget has been passed. This is after the fact now. If council wants to move forward with trying to find other insurance companies, there's nothing we can do with the rate this year.
I understand.
There's nothing. But if council wants to give direction and have staff look forward, that practice was done in the past. However, there's only a handful of insurance companies that will take on municipalities, because we are a high risk and that we have liabilities. So, I mean, that's something that should have all been portrayed to staff through the budget process. I'm not thinking, I don't think we should be, trying to determine right now with road repairs, what's in those road repairs and how come, the budget from 2023 was budgeted this and now for 2024. Those were the questions that should have been asked of the public works superintendent at the time. He's the professional. He would be able to answer as to why he's done that. And if council wanted him at that time to decrease his budget by 10-15%, and if he can, then great. But if he can't, provide an explanation as to why he couldn't and what services he would not have to knock off to be able to get it down to the 10-15% or whatever percentage it would be. Council asked all department heads to do that. The fire department did do that, and in the fire chief's email, he said, if I cut anything more, I have to start cutting fire services. We can't start cutting fire services when it comes to that, but he provided that information saying, this is what I cut out of my budget, but I can't cut any more. Unless, council is okay in agreeing to cutting some of the fire services. That's when, before the budget is passed, is when those questions need to be asked. So when we start the budget process for 2025, when staff come with their budget department estimates, that's where council needs to say, okay, so I see you budgeted this for this line. How come? Why? Why is it that much? Can you decrease it? And that's where it needs to take place. I don't think we're moving forward with the current budget that's already passed. So council has given authority to staff to move forward with this budget. So everything that's in those budget lines has been approved.
So you don't think there's any learning experience here at all?
I do, and I
17%?
I think that's where we move into when we start the budget process and for 2025. That's where the learning starts to happen, and that's where we say, okay, so you budgeted this last year, so what's I see that you're budgeting this. Why? I seen last year we over budgeted, we didn't spend that much, so what are we going to do to be able to bring down those costs?
So if we were to say to you, we're only going to raise taxes 5%, and we're only going to take out of reserves $400,000,
Mm-hmm.
and then you work backwards.
Then staff works backwards. And then staff will tell council why that they can't cut what they can cut, because and if they do, these are the services that the municipality loses and provides to their
But
taxpayers.
we don't have the income to support the expenses that we currently have.
And a lot of the income is from what I've just said, and a lot of it has to do with the 2016 assessment.
I don't see how that ties in.
Okay, there's 7 things I want to say. I'll pare it down though. We did ask staff, when we were going through line by line, we asked Dean to cut his budget, we asked Dean to explain the amounts in his budget, many of them, you know, so to say that we haven't done that, we did that during the budget process, and we're gonna do that again. As for the students, yes, it costs us a lot of money, but those students are providing vital services in the township. So there's, some of them aren't, you know, like, we could do something like cancel the swim program, you know, that would be a bit of a tragedy, but we could decide to do that and save money there. But we wouldn't want to stop getting all of our public lands upkept and mowed, you know, that's something that those students this year, in the rainy year, are doing 24/7 pretty much. You know, or working at the dump because we need coverage, or at the waste sites, or because we need coverage at the waste site. So those are the kinds of decisions. We talked about that in council and there, well, it's in budget process. That's how I may come back.
So yeah, like was the theory of, that's why that I've been calling these meetings, to find if we can learn from this, to the 17%, and find out why our expenses are $1 million more than what we can afford. Like that's the question.
Because we're not taxing enough. We haven't, our tax hasn't kept up. And I'm not, to Mr. Plinsky, you know, I'm not saying anything about what happened. We've had big inflation, and our property tax assessment hasn't changed in 8 years.
So I have that sheet in front of me here. 6 years out of the last 11, there was a 0% increase. In the last 11 years, we've raised the taxes in total 13%. So this year we raised them 17%, and everybody loses their marbles. So I've talked to 3 or 4 different taxpayers that will call me, that aren't afraid to talk to me. So I asked them, if we would have raised your taxes 3% every year for the last 11 years, you wouldn't have a problem. They said no, they wouldn't have had a problem. So in the reality of it, if we would have raised it 3% every year and never got complaints from people, we'd be paying 3% more this year than we actually are with a 17% increase. Just food for thought.
I think on the reverse, it's also food for thought that maybe small tax increases, maybe it's learning, and that's why I brought that up. It's a learning tool. I think small increases don't hurt people as much as big
and I
tax
agree with
increases
you.
do. So it's learning.
Yeah, I agree.
That didn't happen, and so maybe moving forward, that should happen.
Yeah.
So, because it is, the 17%, that's a hard pill to swallow when we haven't traditionally had tax increases that large.
Yeah. But in the big picture of it all, you're actually paid less taxes over the last 11 years than you would have if we would have raised it 3% every year. But people get focused on 17%. That's all they see. They have tunnel vision. 17%, 17%. Well,
It's a hard pill to swallow.
it is.
I get it.
And it's not going away.
It's not.
Kathy, do you remember, were you on in 2000?
Can't be asking.
Hat
top to the because then they'll
Okay,
start
I think in 2000, our our tax base went up 20% when we amalgamated. That was 20% in 2000, because we had no money at all.
So I appreciate what you're trying to do, Dave, but
But
we're our people, and it's out of sequence, you know.
I'm hearing a lot of good things from all of you. Like this is good. There's good concrete ideas coming forward. But, and I think maybe what we're doing, what we're suggesting, is that we change our philosophy going into this next budget. And we put down the parameters and say, this is what it's gonna be. And staff, you get to that number. Irregardless.
Well,
This is
but you
Not
can say
everybody.
that, but there's chances that they can't. Like, if
Yeah.
we need a
But then
new
we
plow
do.
truck, we need a new plow truck.
Then we need to deal with that.
Yeah.
But we need to set down the parameters right off the hop.
irregardless isn't the word. There you go. Yeah, we give staff targets. They can come back to us with options. You know, they can say, okay, well, I can do this, or I can do this, and that's what we decide. Do we get the truck?
No.
Do we cut the swim program? I don't want to cut the swim program.
No,
It's
those
just
are
what
examples.
comes to mind, you know, what.
But no, those are things that we're gonna have to ask. And I think we're fully aware of now, and I think sitting here this is gone through the second budget. I think now we have a lot more knowledge now, and we're gonna ask more questions.
So I did want to address something, it was a letter to Ted, I'm sorry, couldn't bring this up, but I just wanted to clarify some misinformation in there. So somebody did say that all of us have the 17% increase, but people from outside of Killaloe don't get any services. But I just want everybody to understand that Killaloe residents also pay a special area tax rate for all those services. So I just wanted to clean up a bit of that misinformation that might be out there. Yeah. So it's important to know they're paying for those services, and those got increased 17% as well.
And plus, we'll be reviewing that.
Yes.
Ken said we should be reviewing.
Yeah.
That's a good review.
And those special area interest rate had not been raised there were like many years where it was also not raised. So I think we were due.
I think that was, when you were looking there, Ted, that was brought up too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were looking at that? The special area tax, was it increased?
Can we explain? People are saying in Killaloe that their taxes went up 34%. Right? 17% area
Yeah.
rate and 17% taxes. But I don't think,
It did, no.
I know it didn't. It just works out that it's so much per assessment, 17% or whatever it is, their area rate, Tammy, right?
It's based on assessment, yes.
Yeah. I gotta pay it too.
Does anyone else have anything to say? Okay, is there anything for committee of the whole?
Sorry, I just have the household hazardous waste.
Oh,
Waste day?
Yes, so, we were in touch with GFL. They thought Rockland, who we've always used for the household hazardous waste, the date that they can offer us, is October 12th.
oh, Lord.
It's Thanksgiving weekend, so there's a chance that more people will be around closing the cottages and stuff. They're approved by the Automotive Materials Stewardship, which means that they're approved to handle stuff, whereas, Brender, we also looked into Brender, and they're not part of this, Automotive Materials Stewardship. And they also, it was Brender, they could do September 14th, but they require more volunteers. They would need a forklift that would have to be rented. Depending on the length of the time their workers would have to be here, they may have to include lodging in the price.
Oh, Lord.
It is already fairly high. So we have to get this into the tax bills, like this week. So I guess we're looking for council to, maybe to have time to do a resolution for tomorrow to pick a date.
I think September's gonna be awful expensive, so we might as well go with October the 12th, for me anyways.
Yeah, that sounds like a no-brainer.
Because it has to be hard when it comes in and there's waste.
Oil and
It is your
batteries and
And I think we're likely to get more seasonal residents on,
the long weekend, yeah.
Thanksgiving, Halloween, whatever it is. And I just put it in the calendar, so.
It's official.
It's official then, okay, it is October.
Thank you.
That's good.
It would be fun to.
Well, Thanksgiving, yeah. So,
Moved by Bill Smith, second by Maureen, motion to adjourn the finance committee meeting held on July 15, 2024 for the town of William Richards.
Questions, discussion, all in favor?
No disrespect to anyone for your day jobs or mine.
Yeah, I'm so much more than a photographer.
I know, well, I'm more to the shack.
Go to, we got golfing Saturday, we were at 8 under par, right?
Yeah,
Oh, you're golfing.
Right.
we were 2 above par, which
Oh,
was
that-
good for us.
That's part of the joke. What happened at